Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy for PlayStation 2. This came out in 2006 as a sequel to the original game from 2005, pre-Revenge of the Sith, which I loved Revenge of the Sith. This and the comic book graphic novel adaptation were both things that I watched and read and played before the movie came out, and I was obsessed. I love the prequels. I grew up with the prequels, basically. But I grew up mainly with the original trilogy, and then these movies started coming out in like 1999, I think is when Phantom Menace came out. But LEGO Star Wars changed up everything. It had a whole new kind of LEGO video game format. We had a few games before this made of LEGO, but this is the first time they ever took a brand and made an actual game franchise out of it. And to this day, there's a ton of these. There's these two, then they did the one called The Complete Saga, which I played on Wii years ago. Got rid of my Wii, I don't have that anymore. But then years later, they had Star Wars 3, which is based on the Clone Wars cartoon, the second Clone Wars cartoon, I might add. And I haven't finished this one yet. I've been playing it recently, off and on, a little bit, but I like it. It's not as good as the first two, but it's good. And the big reason why I bought LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, is because this newer game for Nintendo Switch and Xbox One and Series X and all of that came out, called the Skywalker Saga. And I am not a fan of the Skywalker Saga. I think it's garbage. It's very open world focused, if you will, and that's kind of nice to an extent. But I missed the original combat system. I know that they had the Force Awakens LEGO game that's also before this game. Wasn't crazy about that one. It was okay. I played it for 3DS, to be fair, so maybe there's a little bit of a lack of translation in that situation. From one major console to a smaller console like the 3DS, as much as I love my 3DS. It's a very capable console that I love a lot. But Skywalker Saga was so open world, it feels so empty, the story adaptations suck, the pulling lines from movies to put into this, or the new voice acting recorded for this game, I don't like it. I don't like when LEGO characters talk. I am very heavily biased to these original games where they did not talk. For a very long time, LEGO characters did not talk. Anyway, LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, I just recently not 100%ed it. The original game I did 100%. It's one of the 2 or 3 games in my entire life that I completely 100% completed the game, and it's there on the screen when I play it. I played the hell out of it. I loved it deeply. This second game I wanted to do that too, until I found out some features that really put me off from it. I'll get to that in a little bit. But for right now, what do I really want to talk about? Well, there's not really a story to talk about. It's just recounting the original trilogy of movies in Legos. And that's cool. I like that. My biggest complaint is that the combat is typically more gun-focused. It's not, the original trilogy didn't have as many lightsabers in the first film, and the second film even. And the Force stuff really isn't there entirely too, even though these games try to really adapt that a little bit more. Of course, they didn't talk back in the day, as I said, so you basically have a kind of a Three Stooges slapstick type of humor that I really like a lot for these original LEGO games, and the ones that followed that continued this trend, like Batman. That was a really good LEGO game. A lot of the LEGO games that did that I really enjoyed. But my biggest issue is that there's too many flying missions. Did anybody else notice that when you played this back in the day? I only played this on Nintendo DS. I've never played the PS2 version, even though when you finish the original game 100%, well, not even 100%, but when you get close to it, you basically unlock a beginning mission from this game, which is the first, few minutes of A New Hope, essentially. Really cool. Really loved that about this game. Loved it deeply. Had friends that I played this for hours, endlessly with. So we were all massive fans. My best friend in childhood played this, number 2, the one I'm reviewing right now, a lot. He loved it a lot too, but he never 100% completed it. Now I understand why. In hindsight, after I played it myself for the first time, really. I've been on a PS2 kick recently, buying a lot of PS2 games, playing a lot of PS2 games. And I felt like this controlled very smoothly. Same combat as the first game, if you like that kind of thing. It's the traditional LEGO combat system. But again, there's less lightsabers in the game, which kind of sucks. There's less Sith Lords in the game. In the original game, when you went to the hub world in between missions, or when you boot up the game, the hub world was Dexter Jettster's diner, and you went outside into the streets of that area. I think it's Coruscant, right? I believe is the area you can go into. And you would have like these turf wars, basically, that would develop. Like you would have the Sith and the Jedi all fighting in the streets out here constantly. They would just gang up on each other. I loved that about the original game. Going into this one, I didn't realize you would basically have Darth Vader and Palpatine, who they cheat and give a lightsaber in this game, and then bounty hunters, and that's basically it. And, like, stormtroopers. And that's really all you have for the bad guys, which isn't as entertaining as a bunch of guys with lightsabers fight another bunch of guys with lightsabers. That was kind of disappointing, in my opinion. So playing this one, the hub world already being at the Mos Eisley Cantina, really kind of disappointed me. The outside is just the desert lands. It looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong, the settings, the designs of the environments look really good for this game's time when it came out in 2006 of all times. Do I think it's a better game than the first one? Hell no, absolutely not. I think the adaptation of the stories for the prequels are much better in execution, and the slapstick humor and all of that, to me, are better in execution than this game. But this game is really good. It's probably one of the better LEGO games of all time, in my personal opinion. I really like it a lot. It's not as good on DS, but I liked it when I was a kid. This is fun, it looks good, it plays well. Again, the running around and whatever is smooth. I like all of that. The environments and all that look really good. My biggest complaint about this game is that they added in a thing that still haunts me to this day. Every single time a new LEGO game comes out, they seem to add more and more collectibles, and Skywalker Saga, the newest game, is the most guilty of this. I hate that about it. Basically, they keep adding so many collectibles, that's all you do now. You know, LEGO can be a collect-a-thon, that's fine. I'm cool with that, it's a kid's game series. But for me personally, it goes in this ballpark of, it's just too much sometimes. Skywalker Saga is the greatest example ever of complete fluff and bloat because of too much collect-a-thon bullshit. This original game adds in one thing, and that is golden bricks. Now you collect the red brick, you collect the mini kits in each level, and you also have to collect gold bricks, which they can have quite a few of those per level. I think overall there's like 99 gold bricks in the entire game. And it's kind of bullshit because some of them you can buy in the store where you buy things like characters and ships and all of that. So for me personally, I tried to save up as much money as I could. There are things I cannot afford in this game because of the amount of studs that you're given. You would have to play through this game at least 4 or 5 times to get everything, to be able to manage getting everything, because it's a lot about stud collectors, you know, where they multiply you into like millions. The most expensive thing I remember buying in the original game was $1 million for the invincibility effect, where you couldn't die. You wouldn't just blow up into a billion Lego pieces after you get killed, after your 4 hearts disappeared. This game has that option as well. It's cheaper to an extent. It's still like $1 million, or 1,100, or 11 million, whatever it is. But then a lot of other things you can get in the game are way more expensive. Like some of the stud multipliers are like 30 million studs. That's crazy. That's insane. For the kind of things you can earn in this game, that's insane. The biggest complaint I have about this game and why I cannot 100% it is not just that, because that would just be, well, play the stories over and over again, which irritates me because, again, a lot of it's flying missions. I don't like LEGO flying missions. I never have. They're better in the first LEGO Star Wars game. They're not that great in this one. They're kind of annoying, especially the Hoth mission. Fuck the Hoth mission, dude. It's so stupid. Anyway, the actual game itself has this new feature that's in the game series. And I think this and complete series, complete saga, whatever that game is called, are the only games that have this, to my knowledge, from what I remember about them. It's called Super Story. And when you finish each of the movies, when you finish each of the 6 missions for each movie, you unlock some gold bricks in the side of the room where you can build a new doorway. This doorway takes you into this area that essentially opens up a thing called Super Story. There's 3 different options that come with that. The big one is that they want you to complete the entire 6 episode, or 6 missions for each movie in under an hour. You have to have a certain amount of studs, too. I think it's like a million, something like that, which probably wouldn't be that hard to do, but in the time frame, some of these missions take me about a half an hour a piece to beat, depending on what we're talking about. Particularly with episodes 5 and 6, those are the big ones where I have an issue with trying to speed through those. But the Super Story thing is bullshit. It really is. In my opinion, I think it's some bullshit, because you're trying to do everything in under an hour. I don't think you can do Return of the Jedi in this game under an hour. If you're able to, you are extremely talented. I do not know how you could do it, but awesome. I'm proud of you. But if you go over an hour, you fail automatically. You know, I don't know if there's a way to cheat the system on this. I looked into it at the time because I wanted to 100% this. I really did, as a completionist, as a big LEGO fan, as a fan of that original game that I did 100% complete, which was the first game ever that I 100% completed. I wanted to do it. I just do not give a shit enough to try to play the 6 missions over and over and over again. Technically, there's 18 of them, if we're considering all 3 films, to play them over and over again to try to get that 100%, it's not worth it. I'm not going to do that. I don't have the time as an adult to want to do that. Even as somebody who doesn't have kids yet, I'm still like in the place of, there's so much other shit I want to watch and play and read. No. No. I'm sorry, but no. That's the biggest complaint I have about this game is the super story mission. It's the same reason why I didn't 100% complete Saga back in the day on the Wii. As much as I love that game too, it's basically these first 2 put into one big game. Not too expansive, but just enough. You know, it is what it is. I don't want to sound so nitpicky. I really love this. It's really funny. The adaptations of the movies are really funny, even if I'm not a big fan of all the flying missions. A lot of this is still fun to play. It's fun to watch. By the way, my biggest complaint I forgot to mention too about the super stories, you can't use cheats. As in, like, you can't use the invincibility thing that you paid 1,000,000 studs for. So you're going to fail over and over again and die constantly in the flying missions. Biggest complaint I forgot to mention. Anyway, I really like it a lot. I really love it, as a matter of fact, a lot. It just has some flaws and nitpicks that I have personally. Maybe it's a get-good situation, I don't know. But I do think some of the unreasonable amounts of studs that you have to spend on some things are insane. You'd have to play through the game 5 and 6 times just to collect enough studs to do those things. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous in my opinion. But it might be worthwhile to the right person, but it wasn't to me. Anyway, the original game is my favorite LEGO Star Wars game of all time. I think it's the best. Maybe one day when I beat all of these, I'll rank them. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Skywalker Saga, but that one I'm going to try to get as far into it as I can. It's massive. It's massive and it's so disappointing. But anyway, when it comes to LEGO Star Wars 2, the original trilogy for PS2, have you played this one? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. And if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really love it. Really great game. Really means a lot to me getting to finally sit down and play this. Took me a while to find a copy I liked, that looked good, that had the manuals and stuff on the inside, which I try to get if I can get it for a reasonable price. Found it for like 15 bucks, and I'm glad I have it now. Because it's really good. I like it a lot. Really a big recommendation from me. Definitely, to me, a way better game than Skywalker Saga. I'm glad I picked this up, and eventually I'll pick up Complete Saga again to have it. Anyway, have you played it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. And again, a 4 out of 5 stars rating from me. I love it a lot. Really good game. Big recommendation from yours truly. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.